Route 66 hides a stunning secret, the Blue Hole of New Mexico. This crystal-clear lagoon lures visitors with its brilliant blue waters, perfect for a refreshing dip. But beneath its calm surface lies a sinister history. The Blue Hole conceals one of America's most complex and unexplored cave systems, a place of danger and heartbreak. The 1970s saw the Blue Hole become a popular spot for scuba training. However, a fateful day in 1976 forever changed its reputation, transforming it into one of the world's most treacherous caves. The Blue Hole's allure stems from its mysterious aura, created by sunlight dancing on its surface. This enchanting sight drew 8 men from Oklahoma to use it as their training ground. They remained unaware of the perilous secret lurking beneath. Every minute, about 3,000 gallons of water feed the Blue Hole from a source 80 feet deep. Today, no one can witness this natural wonder, as a metal grate has blocked access to the underwater caves for nearly 50 years. This barrier covers the entrance to a network of submerged passages with no maps or records of previous explorations. These caves remain a mystery. The Oklahoma divers had no idea of the challenges they would face. Human curiosity often pushes us to explore even in the face of danger. This drive led to tragedy. On March 10, 1976, 2 divers from the group decided to venture into the uncharted caves without informing anyone. They squeezed through tight spaces and winding passages, delving deeper into the unknown. This decision would cost them their lives. The untouched beauty they found was breathtaking. Chambers reaching 17 feet high, dead-end passages, and a maze of underwater rooms extending to depths of about 190 feet. Mike and David, students at Oklahoma State University, made up the ill-fated pair. Despite their group's warnings to stick together, their curiosity led them astray. When the others noticed their absence, they quickly alerted New Mexico authorities. A rescue team rushed to the scene. However, the lack of information about the cave system at the time made the rescue mission extremely difficult. The Blue Hole's serene appearance belies its tragic history. Its crystal waters have claimed lives and continue to hold secrets in their depths. This stark contrast between beauty and danger serves as a reminder of nature's power and the consequences of underestimating it. The Blue Hole stands as a testament to human curiosity and the risks we sometimes take in pursuit of the unknown. Tom Hawkins, a seasoned diver and former judge, joined the rescue mission. His memories reveal the hidden dangers beneath the calm pond surface. Hawkins described the cave entrance as incredibly narrow, forcing divers to remove gear to squeeze through. Armed with only flashlights, Hawkins and his team carefully explored the cave's chambers, trying to piece together the missing divers' final moments. The risks were enormous: tight spaces, poor visibility, and the crushing reality of a place without light or air. Hawkins likened the underwater cave system to Carlsbad Caverns, but completely submerged and pitch black. For context, Carlsbad Caverns boast a massive chamber called the Big Room, stretching 4,000 feet long, 625 feet wide, and 255 feet high. In such vast, dark depths, the Oklahoma divers stood no chance. The team found Mike's body on the first search day near the cave entrance. This suggested he either hadn't gone as far as David or had tried to escape. David's body, however, remained hidden for 6 weeks in a remote part of the cave. Several factors delayed finding David's body: the cave's complex layout, poor visibility, and many divers' reluctance to join a recovery effort that had already claimed lives. When they finally discovered David's body, the team sketched the cave system, revealing its intricate and treacherous nature. This tragedy prompted Santa Rosa, New Mexico, to seal the cave entrance with a grate. The grate allowed water to flow into the Blue Hole, but blocked explorers from entering. This grim reminder of cave diving dangers didn't end the Blue Hole's tragic legacy. In 2016, nearly 40 years after Mike and David's deaths, another disaster struck during an expedition to further explore the cave. Between 1976 and 2016, the Blue Hole's dark history remained largely unknown to the public. Over time, authorities took extra steps to block cave access. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers dumped rocks and debris around the grate. These efforts worked for a while, and no one dared enter the caves. The Blue Hole returned to its original role as a popular swimming and diving spot, serving as a training ground for open water divers. The Blue Hole's allure persisted despite its tragic past. Its crystal clear waters continued to draw visitors, unaware of the dangers lurking beneath. The contrast between the serene surface and the treacherous depths serves as a stark reminder of nature's power and unpredictability. The sealed cave entrance stands as a silent monument to those who lost their lives exploring its depths, a testament to human curiosity and the risks we sometimes take in pursuit of the unknown. The Blue Hole's story took a turn when the ADM Exploration Foundation proposed reopening the cave. They wanted 2 skilled divers to map more of the passageways. City officials gave the green light, and ADM started preparing for the expedition in 2013. Their goal? Clear out the Army's debris and make room for divers to enter. By then, experts thought the cave's danger had decreased. People hoped the Blue Hole's most dangerous cave label was just old news. Shane Thompson and Mike Young got picked for this mission. Both were top-notch divers with years of cave diving under their belts. Mike Young, from Colorado, fell in love with diving in the 1990s. He knew underwater machines inside and out, helping create cutting-edge diving gear. Young had explored caves in Mexico and Puerto Rico. He even helped map the world's 10th deepest cave on the J2 expedition. Thompson, an ex-Navy diver, had pulled off some impressive dives. He once checked out a B-36 bomber wreck off Mission Beach back in 195. His skills made him the perfect partner for Young on this risky dive. But the Blue Hole had more in store for them than anyone guessed. The cave's twisting passages, some leading nowhere, were super dangerous. Fallen rocks over the years made the tight spots even tighter. Young used a special Sidewinder set up with his oxygen tank on his side instead of his back. This let him squeeze through narrow gaps. Thompson, using regular gear, stayed outside the smaller passages. A dive line connected them for safety. On March 26, 2016, the 2 divers started their last expedition. Young went into the tight passages to explore. Thompson stayed outside, but things went wrong when Thompson, for some reason, followed Young despite his gear not fitting the job. Chaos broke out. After some scary moments, the dive line connecting them ripped from Young's hands. He was lost and confused in the dark. Even with his training and gear, Young struggled to find his way back. He eventually found that Thompson had died. The limp dive line showed something terrible had happened. Thompson ran out of air, his body showing signs of panic. Young made it to the surface and came back the next day to get Thompson's body. This tragedy proved once again how dangerous the Blue Hole could be. It showed that even the most experienced divers can face deadly situations in its dark depths. The incident sparked new debates about the risks of cave diving and the need for stricter safety measures. Despite the dangers, the Blue Hole's mysteries continue to captivate explorers and researchers, leaving us to wonder what secrets still lie hidden in its watery labyrinth. The Blue Hole claimed another victim, leading to the permanent sealing of the grate. No more explorations are planned. It stands as a stark reminder of the hidden dangers lurking beneath its alluring surface, forever guarding its deadly secrets. Ben McDaniel entered the world on April 15, 1980, as the eldest of 3 kids. His family called Collierville, Tennessee, home, where Ben grew into a lively adventure-seeking youngster. His endless curiosity led him to dive headfirst into new hobbies. Rock climbing became a favorite pastime, often shared with his younger brother Paul. Ben also showed a knack for tickling the ivories, often entertaining loved ones at gatherings. At 15, Ben discovered diving. He started practicing in his family's backyard pool, dedicating hours to improving his underwater skills. By high school graduation, he had become a confident diver, well-versed in the basics. College life at the University of Memphis saw diving take a back seat. In 2004, Ben graduated with a degree in construction management. Armed with his new qualification, he launched his own construction company, and life seemed to fall into place for a time. Things looked right. Ben married Sarah, and his construction business showed promise. But 2008 brought tragedy. While visiting his parents, Ben found Paul unresponsive. Despite Ben's desperate attempts, Paul couldn't be revived. The sudden loss rocked the family, especially Ben. Initially thought to be a stroke, further investigation revealed a grimmer truth. Paul had succumbed to a drug overdose, a mix of opiates and benzodiazepines. This revelation hit Ben hard. Devastation and self-blame for failing to save his brother pushed him into deep depression. His life began to crumble. His marriage to Sarah ended, and his business collapsed, leaving him with over $50,000 in IRS tax debt. With his world in shambles, Ben moved back in with his parents, Shelby and Patty McDaniel. They encouraged him to take time off, suggesting a sabbatical, a paid break from work, to reset and find his footing. Ben agreed and relocated to his family's beach house in Santa Rosa Beach on the Florida Panhandle. This move was meant to be a healing period for Ben, a chance to start anew and rebuild his life. Ben's Florida move reignited his passion for diving. He frequented Vortex Spring in Ponte de Leon, a popular spot known for its clear freshwater and challenging cave system. The cave, starting 300 feet from the cavern entrance, attracts advanced divers. A Grim Reaper sign warns of the risks, and a gate blocks access to more dangerous areas, open only to certified cave divers. Despite lacking cave diving certification, Ben became a regular at Vortex Spring. Staff and other divers knew him well. Ben's confidence in his diving skills often bordered on overconfidence, catching the attention of others. Chuck Cronin, a dive shop employee, felt uneasy about Ben. Though well-equipped and knowledgeable, Ben's confidence sometimes seemed like arrogance. Ben's life appeared to be improving. His parents and new girlfriend, Emily Greer, noticed positive changes. He talked about moving past Paul's loss and getting back on track. Ben even considered becoming a certified diving instructor, hoping to start a new career in diving. Things looked promising for Ben. Sadly, Ben never realized these plans. In August 2010, 4 months after moving to Florida, Ben visited his parents in Tennessee with Emily. He shared his optimistic plans and how diving helped him cope with grief. He also expressed interest in getting cave diving certification, which would have allowed him to explore places like Vortex Spring safely and legally. On August 14th, Ben left his parents a heartfelt letter, thanking them for their support and promising to care for them in their old age. His parents likely saw this as a sign of Ben's improved emotional and mental state. 4 days later, on August 18th, Ben returned to Vortex Spring for his final dive. He spent the day diving and inspecting the cave entrance area, possibly planning future dives. After resurfacing and refilling his tanks, he spent time alone testing his equipment and writing in his dive log. Around 7:30 p.m., Ben prepared for another dive. Ben's confidence in diving grew at Vortex Spring, but his lack of cave diving certification raised concerns. Despite these worries, he seemed to be turning his life around, with plans for a new career in diving. His visit home in August 2010 showed his improved outlook, but tragically, his return to Vortex Spring on August 18th would be his last dive. Chuck Cronin and Eduardo Terron, dive shop workers, saw Ben enter the water that evening. Chuck, despite suspecting Ben had been forcing the gate open, unlocked it for him. This decision would haunt him later. As Ben vanished without a trace, no one worried when Ben didn't resurface immediately. But after 2 days, with his truck still in the parking lot and no sign of him, Staff grew concerned. They hadn't seen Ben for 48 hours, and something was clearly wrong. They called the authorities, launching a search effort. At first, everyone thought Ben had drowned in the cave, but finding him proved challenging. Vortex Springs cave system is extremely dangerous, with only a handful of divers skilled enough to navigate it safely. These expert divers joined the search, but days of exploring the narrow passages yielded nothing. Ben's body remained elusive. Ed Sorensen, a seasoned cave diver with over 2,500 dives, joined the search. He made several attempts, but found no trace of Ben. Steve Keane, who originally mapped the Vortex Spring Cave, also helped. After 7 dives, he apologized to Ben's family, stating he found no evidence of a dive or a body. As weeks passed, hope dwindled. Despite extensive searches, Ben's body never surfaced. The McDaniel family even hired a private investigator, suspecting foul play, but this led nowhere. In 2013, Florida issued a death certificate for Ben, providing some closure to his family, though his body remained missing. The exact fate of Ben McDaniel remains unknown. His disappearance is one of Vortex Springs' great mysteries, a place known for its beauty, but also for claiming many divers' lives. Whether Ben drowned, got trapped, or met another fate, his story serves as a stark reminder of the dangers lurking in underwater caves. The incident raised questions about cave diving safety and the importance of proper certification. It also sparked debates about access to dangerous dive sites and the responsibility of dive operators. Ben's story continues to fascinate and warn divers about the risks of pushing beyond one's limits and ignoring safety protocols. Despite the passage of time, Ben's family and the diving community still seek answers. The mystery of his disappearance has become part of Vortex Springs lore, a cautionary tale shared among divers. It underscores the unpredictable nature of underwater exploration and the thin line between adventure and tragedy in extreme sports. Off the coast of Split, Croatia, Sua Island sits in the clear Adriatic Sea. This beautiful spot draws swimmers, divers, and those seeking peace. The island's coastline offers calm bays and coves for water fun or sunbathing, but local stories warn visitors about hidden underwater caves beneath the waves. Despite the area's beauty, one cave in Pogan Bay carries a dark reputation. Pogan means pagan in Croatian, hinting at mystery and the unknown. Most people avoid Pogan Bay's underwater caves, but some brave divers find the danger exciting, while locals stay away. Experienced divers sometimes test their skills in these unexplored underwater passages. Cave diving in remote, unmapped areas comes with huge risks. Most divers find even 90 seconds without air scary. When drowning, panic sets in as the body fights for air. The mind sharpens briefly in a last attempt to survive as oxygen runs out. Vision darkens and thoughts blur. Soon the need to breathe takes over, and water fills the lungs. This part of drowning often feels worse than the initial lack of air. For some, drowning underwater happens slowly, with the brain lasting up to 20 minutes as the body shuts down. Divers face more than just drowning risks. Nitrogen narcosis, called the rapture of the deep, affects the brain at certain depths. It makes divers act strangely, often without realizing it. Simple moves like turning quickly or swimming up become dangerous. In deep places like Pogan Bay's caves, these risks grow. Divers with nitrogen narcosis might take needless risks or forget safety rules. Sometimes moving to shallower water can fix this, but for many, a small mistake can turn into a deadly situation. The underwater world of Pogan Bay mixes beauty with danger. Its unexplored caves tempt adventurers, but the risks remain high. Salta's coastline continues to captivate visitors with its stunning views and clear waters. Yet beneath the surface, in the dark recesses of Pogan Bay, nature reminds us of its power and mystery. On September 10, 2002, friends rented a boat to enjoy the Adriatic Sea. Miroslav, a 31-year-old Croatian citizen born in the Czech Republic, joined them. He loved diving and often explored alone. That day, Miroslav left his friends, put on his wetsuit, and dove into the cool water. While exploring the seabed, Miroslav found an underwater cave entrance. The opening sat about 30 feet deep and was wide enough for him to enter. Though usually careful, something drew him to the dark interior. He swam through, curious about what lay inside. The cave widened as Miroslav swam deeper, revealing two galleries. One was shallow, the other deeper. He noticed thick silt covering the cave floor, easily stirred up by movement. Miroslav knew disturbing too much silt could make it hard to seize and find the way out. Still, he carefully explored both galleries without going too far in. Soon, Miroslav decided to head back. As he swam towards what he thought was the exit, he realized he'd made a wrong turn. The shallow gallery looked just like the exit tunnel, and he struggled to find his way. Luckily, he spotted familiar markers and swam out without further problems. Back on the surface, Miroslav felt relieved, but couldn't shake the urge to return. The thrill of the unknown had grabbed him, and he wondered what else the cave held. Miroslav's experience highlights the allure and danger of underwater caves. Even experienced divers can get lost in these dark, confusing spaces. The thick silt on the cave floor adds another risk, as it can quickly reduce visibility to zero. This makes finding the exit much harder and increases the chance of getting trapped. Despite the close call, Miroslav felt drawn back to the cave. This pull towards danger is common among thrill seekers and explorers. The unknown often proves irresistible, even when logic suggests staying away. For Miroslav, the brief glimpse into the cave's mysteries left him wanting more. Underwater caves like the one Miroslav found dot coastlines worldwide. They offer unique ecosystems and geological wonders, but also pose serious risks to divers without proper training and equipment. Exploring these caves can quickly turn deadly. Even skilled divers sometimes underestimate the challenges of cave diving. That night, Miroslav and his friends ate dinner on their boat. After eating and drinking, he told them about the cave he found. This sparked a lively talk among the group. Some wanted to explore the cave, while others felt unsure. They knew diving in a dark, unknown cave could be dangerous. As the night went on and they drank more, the cave's mystery pulled them in. By nightfall, they all agreed to explore the cave together. The 4 divers split into 2 teams and entered the water, leaving the boat crew behind. Miroslav led them to the cave entrance, feeling sure about his earlier visit. Inside, they were amazed by the cave's size and complexity. It was more intricate than they thought. After exploring for a while, they decided to head back. 3 divers made it back to the boat safely, but once on board, they realized Miroslav wasn't there. At first, they thought Miroslav was lagging or playing a joke. But as time passed, they grew worried. 2 crew members went back in the water to look for him. After searching for almost an hour, they found no sign of their friend. By then, it was clear something had gone wrong. The captain called the local authorities, and a big search and rescue mission began. The next day, police divers went into the cave to search for Moroso. Sadly, one rescuer got lost from the safety line and vanished into the dark cave. They found his body soon after in the shallow gallery. He died in the same cave they came to search. The other rescuers kept going, determined to find Mirov. Finally, after hours of searching, they found his body at the bottom of the deep gallery, 177 ft 54 m down. Miroslav's diving gear was intact, but his mask was off and his regulator wasn't in his mouth. More disturbing, a large knife stuck out of his chest. This grim discovery puzzled investigators. The knife had gone deep into Miroslav's chest, piercing his aorta, but it hadn't killed him right away. Lab tests showed he had breathed in a lot of seawater before dying. This meant he had lived for several minutes after being stabbed. The strange circumstances of Miroslav's death raised many questions. How did he end up so deep in the cave? Why was his mask off and regulator out? And most puzzling, where did the knife come from? And who had stabbed him? The case baffled investigators and left Miroslav's friends and family searching for answers. The dark depths of the cave held secrets that might never come to light, leaving the true story of Miroslav's final moments a mystery. People started guessing about how Miroslav died. Some thought another diver killed him, but there wasn't any proof. Others believed he got confused in the cave, panicked, and ended his life to avoid drowning. This idea made sense because Miroslav had alcohol in his system, which might have clouded his thinking and led him to explore the cave at night again. Even after careful looking, no one could say for sure what happened to Moroso. His death remains a mystery, like the dark and dangerous caves of Pogan Bay. Today, few people explore the cave. It's known as a deadly, risky place in local stories. Those who go near often think about what happened to Mirov. Hidden deep under southern France's Ardèche region, a network of underwater caves lures brave explorers. Among these, Dragon Air Cave stands out as the most feared and challenging. This water-filled cavern has claimed many lives, even those of expert divers. Only tiny shrimp thrive in its cold, dark waters. The cave's twisting passages often become deadly traps for those who enter. Eric Esta, a master cave diver, felt drawn to Dragon Air Cave's dangers. He had spent years honing his skills underwater. The cave's unexplored areas called to him, and he aimed to map every inch of it. Diving in Dragon Air Cave brings extreme dangers. The cave's silt-filled water can reduce visibility to almost nothing in seconds. One wrong move can stir up this silt, causing a diver's worst night, a total blackout. In these moments, all sense of direction vanishes. Up becomes down, and the diver floats in complete darkness. The only choice is to wait for the silt to settle, but waiting too long means running out of air. Eric understood these risks better than most, yet he kept diving. Cave air often contains deadly gases that can cause confusion, dizziness, or even death if breathed. Despite these dangers, Eric made Drag Air Cave his life's work. Year after year, he explored its tunnels, slowly mapping more of the cave, driven by his dream to chart it completely. Eric's love for diving began in the 1990s when he was about 20. He started exploring caves and quickly became one of the world's top cave divers. His friends Felipe and Emmer often joined him, forming a tight team that shared many underwater adventures. Eric plunged into Dragon Air Cave on October 3, 2010, aiming to push deeper than ever before. He packed 2 rebreathers, 2 underwater scooters, 5 air tanks, and over 1,400 ft of dive line. He planned for a 6-hour dive into the unknown. The dive started well. Eric glided through narrow passages, venturing deeper into the cave. But trouble hit at 2,200 ft in. He accidentally brushed a wall, stirring up a thick silt cloud. Visibility dropped to 0. Darkness engulfed him. Eric stayed calm, waiting for the silt to settle, but it didn't clear fast enough. Eric decided to push on despite poor visibility. He moved carefully, avoiding sharp edges that could damage his gear or air supply. Alone in the murky water, he reached a new section of the cave. Then things got worse. A sudden rockfall trapped Eric in a small area. Silt filled the water again, creating a complete blackout. His headlamp couldn't pierce the swirling sediment. Eric found himself stuck with limited air and no clear exit. When Eric didn't return on time, worry set in. By October 4th, a rescue mission began. Expert cave divers Rick Stanton and John Valanthan stepped up to lead the search. They had gained fame for rescuing 12 boys and their coach from a Thai cave. They knew Eric from previous French expeditions and didn't hesitate to help. Rick and John entered Dragon Air Cave at 3:00 p.m. on October 4th, armed with top-notch gear. They knew the mission would be tough, but were determined to find their friend. As they descended, they faced thick silt that nearly blinded them. At 2,427 feet in, they discovered the cause. A massive underwater rock slide had disturbed the cave floor. The rescuers pressed on, fighting against the murky water and treacherous terrain. Every inch forward brought new challenges. Sharp rocks threatened to snag their equipment. The darkness seemed to close in around them, but Rick and John's experience and determination drove them forward. They called out Eric's name, hoping for a response. The cave's twisting passages distorted sound, making it hard to pinpoint any potential replies. Time ticked by, and their air supply dwindled. The pressure mounted with each passing minute as they ventured deeper. The rescuers faced a grim reality. The cave had changed dramatically since Eric's entry. New passages had opened while others had closed off. The rockfall had altered the cave's layout, making their search even more difficult. Despite the odds, Rick and John refused to give up. They methodically searched every accessible area, knowing that Eric's life hung in the balance. The cold water sapped their strength, but their resolve remained unshaken. They pushed on, driven by the hope of finding their friend alive. The team hit a dead end at 2,559 feet. They ran out of air and had to turn back, leaving Eric unfound. By October 6th, the rescuers had a new plan. They started digging a vertical shaft near the cave for another way in. Other divers checked nearby caves for connections to Dragon Air Cave, hoping to find an exit for Eric. Rick and John went back in, but had to retreat again before reaching Eric. Time was running out, and hope faded as days passed. After several failed attempts, Rick and John made one last push. They entered with slimmer gear to squeeze through tight spots. Hours of tough navigation led to a breakthrough. They found a small gap at the top of the rockfall, just big enough to squeeze through. On the other side, they pushed deeper into unexplored areas. After swimming another 600 feet, they found Eric. He lay 15 feet below in a small chamber. It looked like he tried to find air, but ran out before escaping. Rick and Jane carefully prepared Eric's body for recovery, but as they tried to bring him back through the narrow gap, his body got stuck. They realized they'd be trapped if they kept trying. Reluctantly, they left Eric behind. They did retrieve his dive computer, which held crucial data about his final moments. Eric's computer showed he drowned on the first day of his dive. Despite the rescue team's heroic efforts, Eric had been trapped too long. In January 2011, after months of failed recovery attempts, the French Speleology Federation called off the search. Eric's body remains in Dragon Air Cave, a stark reminder of the risks in exploring the unknown. The cave's treacherous paths and unexpected changes made the search incredibly challenging. Rick and John's experience proved crucial. They navigated the murky waters with precision, always aware of the dangers lurking in the darkness. Their teamwork and quick thinking helped them overcome obstacles that would have stopped less skilled divers. Dragon Air Cave stands as a somber monument to Eric's final adventure. It reminds us of nature's raw power and the indomitable spirit of those who dare to explore its depths. Eric's legacy lives on, inspiring future generations of cavers to push boundaries while respecting the dangers that come with venturing into the unknown. Near the town of Cummel in Mexico, close to the Yucatan Peninsula, lies the Iolo Cave Complex, a vast underwater maze shrouded in mystery. A huge sinkhole marks the entrance to this sprawling cave system. Over centuries, water erodes underground limestone, causing it to collapse and form sinkholes. As water carves out new tunnels and chambers, these cave networks grow bigger and more complex. Divers first explored Iolo Cave in the 1980s and 1990s, mapping out nearly 20,000 feet, about 3.8 miles of passages. They placed thick ropes along the cave walls as guidelines for future divers to follow, explored paths, and avoid getting lost. These ropes showed which parts of the cave had been discovered. After this initial exploration, the cave fell into obscurity for about a decade. In 2012, a team of skilled divers returned to Iolo Cave. They aimed to remap the cave, replace old guidelines, and find new passageways. Their efforts paid off, adding another 5,000 F to around 1,525 of new guidelines to the system. Inside, a maze of narrow passages and chambers twisted and turned, making navigation treacherous. Iolo Cave's chambers held thick layers of silt at their bottoms. The water stayed clear when calm, but any movement stirred up sediment, turning it murky fast. This sudden darkness could disorient divers, leading to panic. Luckily, guidelines with cookies, special markers pointing to the exit, helped divers navigate even in poor visibility. But these lifelines had a catch. They weren't always continuous. Cave walls and rope lengths sometimes forced gaps. To explore further, divers used temporary jump lines, removing them on the way out. Donald Cerrone, born in Denver in 1983, knew the dangers of caves like Iolo well. A wild child prone to fights, Donald found his calling in cave diving and combat sports. Donald's passion for cave diving remained strong. He understood the risks, but couldn't resist the thrill of exploring underwater mazes. Each dive brought new challenges and tested his skills. Donald's experiences in both fighting and diving taught him to stay calm under pressure and think quickly in dangerous situations. As Donald prepared for his Iolo cave dive, he knew the risks he faced. The cave's reputation for sudden visibility changes and tricky navigation didn't deter him. Instead, it fueled his excitement. He meticulously checked his gear, reviewed the cave maps, and mentally prepared for the challenges ahead. Donald's past experiences had taught him to respect the cave, but not fear it. He was ready to face whatever Iolo threw at him. Armed with skill, experience, and a healthy dose of caution, Donald and Alex geared up for their Iolo cave dive in Cumul, Mexico, in summer 2018. They'd waited months for this adventure. On August 17th, Donald hugged Lindsay and their baby goodbye. Lindsay felt uneasy about this dive, not fully trusting Alex's skills. Before diving, Donald and Alex reviewed their plan. Remembering Lindsay's worries, Donald packed an extra air tank. They used the rule of thirds for air management: 1/3 to enter, 1/3 to exit, 1/3 as backup. The dive started well. They followed the main guideline, taking in the underwater sights. But trouble hit at the first guideline's end. They needed to jump to a new line. Alex, more experienced, went first. He looped his dive light lanyard around his neck to free his hands. As he reached for the new line, his buoyancy device broke loose, floating up. Startled, Alex thrashed, getting tangled in the guideline. Donald watched, horrified, as Alex struggled with the rope, keeping his distance to avoid getting trapped too. Donald faced a tough choice. His training stressed self-preservation in cave diving, where rescuing a panicked diver often leads to 2 deaths. Donald knew he had to focus on surviving. He thought of his promise to Lindsay. With Alex in trouble and visibility dropping to 0, that promise seemed far off. Alex's light vanished in the murky water. Donald feared his friend had lost his regulator. Despite the grim situation, he couldn't leave Alex. He swam toward Alex's last known spot, but the darkness made it impossible to find him. The cave's dangers became real. Silt clouds filled the water, disorienting Donald. He relied on his training, feeling for the guideline. Each second felt like an eternity as he searched for Alex, the cave's silence broken only by his breathing. Adding to the tension, Donald's mind raced. He thought of Lindsay and their baby, of his past close calls. The weight of the situation hit him hard. He wanted to help Alex, but knew the risks. Every move could stir up more silt, making things worse. He inched forward, straining to see or hear any sign of Alex. The darkness pressed in from all sides. Donald's heart pounded as he realized how quickly a routine dive had turned into a fight for survival. Time seemed to stand still in the pitch-black water. Donald's training kicked in. He focused on his breathing, trying to stay calm. He knew panic would only waste precious air and energy. As he searched, Donald recalled other tight spots he'd been in. The motocross crash, the leaky dry suit. Those experiences had taught him to stay cool under pressure. Now, in Iolo Cave's depths, he needed that skill more than ever. Donald kept moving carefully, feeling his way along the guideline. He hoped to bump into Alex or spot a flash of light. The cave's twists and turns made the search harder. Donald knew every second counted, but he had to move slowly to avoid stirring up more silt. The situation tested Donald's limits. He balanced the urge to find his friend with the need to ensure his own safety. The cave's dangers were real, and one wrong move could trap them both. Donald faced a new challenge. His oxygen levels dropped fast. Thoughts of his family raced through his mind. Panic set in, something he'd never felt in the octagon. The pitch-black cave overwhelmed him with fear. His breathing quickened. He hit his head on the cave ceiling, causing sharp pain. Donald checked his compass and dive watches. He had about an hour of air left and knew the exit's general direction. He felt his way along the cave walls slowly. Obstacles blocked his progress at every turn. Desperate, he moved erratically, searching for any way out. By luck, he found the main guideline again, his lifeline to safety. The exit lay far off, nearly 1,000 wide away. Silted-out water made visibility almost zero. Donald knew of a split in the guideline ahead. One path led to the exit, the other deeper into the cave. Choosing wrong meant certain death. Donald pushed on, trusting his instincts and compass. After what felt like forever, Donald's hand touched the crack in the cave ceiling he remembered from the dive start. He followed it until he spotted a faint glimmer of light. Sunlight. He knew he neared the surface. With new hope, Donald swam toward the light. Moments later, he broke through the water's surface, gasping for fresh air. To his surprise, Alex sat on the shore, smiling. Somehow, Alex had freed himself from the guideline and escaped the cave. For Donald, the experience changed his life. He never expected to come so close to death. It reminded him how fragile life could be. Donald Cerrone still dives today, but with more caution. He spends most of his time on his New Mexico ranch with his wife and kids. He cherishes every moment with them. That dive in the Iolo Cave complex marked a turning point in his life. It made him value his family time even more. The cave dive tested Donald's limits like never before. He faced real danger, with death a constant threat. The darkness and silence of the cave added to the intense situation. Every move could have stirred up more silt, making things worse. Christine Millet, a remarkable young diver, mastered scuba diving at just 19. She grew up diving in Australia's waters, guided by her dad, a pro diver. With brothers Stephen and Glenn, the Millets were diving experts. By spring 1973, all three had the highest scuba qualifications. Christine even held the New South Wales diving champion title. Their diving skills made them valuable for any expedition. One family member, cousin John Bockerman, was less experienced. He had only dived for 4 years. While skilled by most standards, John was the least seasoned compared to the Millet siblings. On May 28, 1973, The Millets and divers from the South Pacific Diving Club headed to Mount Gambier's shaft sinkhole for a 2-day dive. This unique spot looked like a small ground hole, but opened into a huge underwater cavern. Divers used a rope ladder to descend through the 3-ft wide opening to a lake 20-ft below. Inside, they found a massive cave as big as a football field, filled with eerie stillness and clear, cold water. The shaft's narrow opening let light beams reach deep inside. On sunny days, light streamed down to a rock pile 120-ft below. Local landowners had dumped these rocks, unaware of the cavern's size. The rock pile and surface light acted as a compass for divers. As long as they stayed in the main chamber, they could always see the light and know their location. On day 1, 9 divers explored the cavern. They carefully laid a single guideline from the surface to the rock pile's top. This line was their only lifeline in the vast, dark cave. 8 divers, including Christine and her brothers, explored the main chamber. One stayed on the surface to manage safety and supplies. Robert Smith, the diving club president, had been in the shaft over 20 times. He felt completely at ease in the cavern. The plan for day 2 seemed simple. Stay within 200-ft depth in the main chamber and use the surface light as a guide. The group hadn't set a strict dive plan or chosen a leader. This oversight would soon prove disastrous. On day 2, Christine, Stephen, John, and Gordon Roberts aimed higher. They wanted to dive deeper into the cave, targeting a tunnel on the cavern's west side. Their goal reached 250-ft, a new group record. The plan was simple: descend fast, ascend fast, minimizing time at dangerous depths. But they didn't fully grasp the risks of deep diving with regular air tanks. In 1973, mixed gases weren't common in recreational diving, and deep diving science was new. This put them at high risk of nitrogen narcosis, a condition caused by nitrogen absorption under pressure that messes with judgment and movement. The Millets and their friends felt sure of their skills, maybe too sure. The 4 divers sank into the tunnel, unaware of the deadly challenges ahead. At first, all seemed fine. They dove past the rock pile into deep water, vanishing into the tunnel as others watched. But Glenn, Christine's brother, quickly sensed trouble. He felt the effects of nitrogen narcosis, like being drunk, and decided to go up to a safer depth. Christine, Stephen, John, and Gordon kept going deeper. The narrow tunnel was nothing like open water. Even small moves stirred up silt from the cave floor, cutting visibility to almost zero. As they went deeper, silt swirled around them, turning clear water into a blinding cloud. Their situation suddenly turned deadly. Silt blocked their view, and without a guideline to the entrance, they got lost in the pitch-black tunnel. Christine realized how bad things were. Her air was running low. Worse, the tunnel had no clear exit. She started to panic, but knew she had to stay calm to survive. She and Gordon tried to swim up, hoping to escape the silt by finding a clearer path near the tunnel's ceiling. But they didn't know they were swimming into a false dome, a small pocket in the ceiling leading nowhere. Trapped in this dead end, Christine and Gordon desperately searched for a way out. Their flashlights cut through the silt like knives, but the tunnel's jagged rocks offered no escape. Their situation worsened rapidly. Panicked breathing depleted their air supply quickly. Their struggles stirred up more silt, further obscuring their vision in the murky water. Christine and Gordon ran out of air, succumbed to oxygen deprivation, and sank lifeless to the tunnel floor. John, likely affected by severe nitrogen narcosis, swam deeper into the tunnel, completely disoriented. Stephen turned back, trying to reach the surface, but like his sister, he got lost in the silt-filled tunnel. In a final attempt to survive, Stephen inflated his buoyancy vest, hoping it would lift him to the surface. Instead, he got caught on a rocky outcrop and never made it out. On the surface, the remaining divers waited anxiously. When Christine, Stephen, John, and Gordon didn't return, panic spread. Some divers went back down, searching desperately for their missing friends. They only found Stephen's camera and flashlight abandoned on the tunnel floor. The grim reality of the situation began to sink in. Authorities took 11 months to recover the bodies of Christine, Stephen, John, and Gordon. This tragedy shook the diving community, leading to new rules and safety standards for cave diving. Now divers must undergo special training before attempting such risky dives, and strict safety measures aim to prevent similar tragedies. The Millet family's devastating loss served as a stark reminder that even the most skilled divers face unpredictable dangers in cave diving. Christine, Stephen, John, and Gordon ranked among the best in their field, but the unknown risks proved greater than their experience. Their story stands as a warning to all adventure seekers exploring the hidden depths below the surface. The cave's dark waters claimed 4 lives that day, leaving behind grieving families and a shocked diving community. This tragic event highlighted the need for better understanding of deep diving risks and proper equipment. The Caribbean is home to a vast number of blue holes, more than any other region in the world. These mysterious underwater sinkholes, often described as the Holy Grail for divers, are as fascinating as they are dangerous. Andros, the largest island in the Bahamas, holds the highest concentration of these blue holes. However, despite their allure to thrill-seeking divers, blue holes have a dark side. Their complex underwater labyrinths make them some of the deadliest environments on the planet. But what exactly makes these underwater marbles so perilous? Blue holes are essentially sinkholes formed over millions of years in carbonate bedrock. Unlike regular caves or ocean inlets, blue holes lack a natural drainage system. Their depths are filled with toxic hydrogen sulfide, which leads to an environment without oxygen. This condition is called anoxic. The deeper one dives, the more life disappears, leaving behind a barren, eerie landscape. As mesmerizing as the thought of exploring these underwater caves may be, they present extreme hazards. Sending submarines into blue holes isn't a feasible option due to the environment, which requires a special combination of skills and equipment. Even the most seasoned divers need extensive training to navigate them. For divers, one of the biggest risks is nitrogen narcosis, a condition where increased nitrogen levels impair cognitive function. Divers affected by this can become disoriented or lose awareness of their surroundings, a deadly combination when exploring uncharted, tight underwater passages. One of the most famous blue holes is the Shark Blue Hole, an offshore sinkhole located inside the Bahamas Barrier Reef. The entrance to this cave is a coral-rimmed basin that leads to an enormous cavern beneath the ocean. This first chamber, known as the Cack Cavern, is 230 ft long and 65 ft wide, descending to depths of 96 ft. At the far end of this cavern lies a crack at 131 ft deep, leading to a narrow passage with an unknown depth, so dangerous that no diver is advised to enter. Diving into such an environment is not for the faint-hearted. The passage in Shark's Blue Hole is so tight that divers must side-mount their tanks to fit through. Traditional diving involves carrying tanks on one's back, but this passage is too narrow, requiring perfect navigation to avoid scraping against the sharp walls. Those brave enough to make it through the fissure are met with views unlike any seen on the planet, an enormous otherworldly cavern that few have dared to explore. However, it's not just the thrill of the unknown that draws divers to these dangerous places. There's a deeper allure, one that has captivated adventurers for decades. Rob Parker, a cave diving legend from Bournemouth, England, was one such individual. Born and raised in Bournemouth, Rob Parker was an adrenaline junkie from a young age. He thrived on adventure, scaling the cliffs of Dorset and exploring the Mendip Caves near his new home in Bristol. His relentless drive for excitement made him one of the most prominent figures in the UK's cave diving and exploration scene. Rob's introduction to cave diving came through a mentor, Martin Farr, a legend in the diving world. The two quickly bonded over their shared love for exploration, and soon, Rob became an integral part of the expeditions at the Wookey Hole Cave Complex. Over time, his reputation as a fearless and skillful diver grew, and by the mid-1980s, Rob had already established himself as one of the top cave divers in the world. In 1997, Rob Parker found himself once again drawn to the blue holes of the Bahamas, this time alongside another legendary diver, Rob Palmer. Palmer had led numerous expeditions into the Caribbean blue holes, most notably exploring Stargate, a 300-foot deep sinkhole in Andros. It was during these explorations that Palmer discovered ancient artifacts, including an Indian canoe and bones believed to be over 500 years old. Rob Palmer's reputation as one of Britain's leading cave divers was well known, and when he tragically died during a dive in Egypt in 1997, the opportunity arose for Rob Parker to take his place in an upcoming filming project at Shark's Blue Hole. The task was daunting. Palmer's death had been a sobering reminder of the dangers of diving in these mysterious sinkholes. However, Rob Parker, always wanting to face a challenge, stepped up. Before the filming began, Rob Parker and his dive partner, Dan Malone, decided to conduct a few preparatory dives to familiarize themselves with the area. After spending 10 days diving to 350 feet in nearby caves, the two took a 2-day rest to clear the nitrogen buildup in their systems. But there was one dive they hadn't yet attempted, the infamous Forbidden Passage in Shark's Blue Hole. Despite the dangers, Rob was determined to explore this uncharted section of the cavern. He knew that once the filming crew arrived, they wouldn't allow such a risky venture. Dan, hesitant but unwilling to stop his friend, agreed to join Rob on the dive. The plan was simple: descend into the blue hole during slack tide, the period when water currents are calmest, and attempt to navigate the narrow passage. On the evening of the dive, Rob and Dan entered the water, tanks mounted at their sides to fit through the narrow passage. As they descended, the two were struck by the sheer size and beauty of the cavern they had entered. But as breathtaking as the sight was, they knew they were on borrowed time. If the tide shifted, they could easily be trapped inside the cave with no way of fighting the current. Everything was going smoothly until disaster struck. As they made their way back through the passage, Dan's tank regulator failed, forcing him to switch to compressed air. The sudden change in gas mixture caused a rush of nitrogen narcosis, leaving him disoriented and impaired. He was able to recover, but that was only the beginning of their problems. Dan noticed Rob signaling to him, but something was wrong. Rob seemed distressed. Before Dan could react, Rob turned away and continued swimming. Moments later, Rob stopped kicking his fins and began to descend uncontrollably into the abyss. Dan, in a state of panic, rushed to grab his friend, pulling him up from the depths. As Dan pulled Rob up, he lost both of his fins in the chaos, making the swim back even more treacherous. In a miraculous turn of events, Rob regained consciousness and began swimming again as if nothing had happened. But by now, both men were low on air, and they needed to reach the spare tanks they had left on the other side of the passage. Dan managed to make it through the narrow crack, but when he looked back, Rob was gone. Dan frantically waved his light around, trying to signal the support divers. But it was too late. Rob had disappeared into the darkness of the Forbidden Cavern, lost to the depths of Shark's Blue Hole. Despite the efforts of the support divers, Rob's body was not recovered until 2 days later. He had become disoriented due to nitrogen narcosis, likely wedging himself in the narrow passage and drowning. Rob Parker's death was a tragic reminder of the dangers of diving into blue holes. Despite his skill, experience, and preparation, even the most accomplished divers are not immune to the hazards of exploring these mysterious underwater caverns. His death shook the diving community, but it also highlighted the insatiable drive of those who seek to push the limits of human exploration. Blue holes, while beautiful and awe-inspiring, remain some of the most dangerous environments on Earth. Divers like Rob Parker and Rob Palmer remind us of the delicate balance between adventure and danger. Deep in Spain's heartland, a mysterious, furious cave lures divers and thrill seekers from around the globe. Cuadel Agua, as locals call it, boasts a vast network of submerged rivers. Rumors swirl that these waterways stretch as far as China, fueling the imaginations of adventurers. This hidden world promises untold archaeological treasures, drawing brave souls eager to uncover its secrets. Yet the allure of Cuadel Agua comes at a steep price, with some explorers paying with their lives. As tragedy struck within its murky depths, media outlets shone a spotlight on the cave's dangers and ongoing rescue efforts. Local officials sprang into action, plastering warning signs and erecting fences around the entrance. These measures, however, proved futile against determined explorers who simply broke through, driven by an insatiable thirst for discovery. The cave's grim history includes the loss of 2 French divers in the early 1990s. Unaware of the lurking dangers, they ventured inside, never to return. Rescuers deemed the situation too risky, abandoning the search. Years passed before other divers, who had successfully navigated the treacherous waters, stumbled upon their remains. Shockingly, this tragic discovery only intensified interest in the cave. Despite the known risks, weekend warriors flocked to Cuadel Agua, eager to explore its shallower passages and return with tales of adventure. Few, however, dare to plumb its depths. The cave's entrance, conveniently located near El Mayon's main road, opens into a breathtaking underwater system. Divers describe the water as unnaturally warm, almost hot, and eerily still. Sections filled with silt and mud add to the cave's otherworldly atmosphere. 2 distinct paths await explorers, a short route leading seaward, relatively easy to navigate, and a longer, winding passage plunging deep into the mountain. This second path challenges even the most experienced divers, forcing them through a claustrophobic maze of galleries stretching roughly 3,281 feet. Here, the perils of cave diving intensify dramatically. Unlike open water dives, where the surface offers a potential escape, cave divers find themselves trapped in a labyrinth of darkness. The cave's unique challenges push divers to their limits. The absence of natural light, coupled with the disorienting effects of suspended silt, creates a sensory-deprived environment. The haunting legacy of Cuadel Agua grew darker with Antonio Pedro Martinez Arde's story. This 41-year-old family man, who worked at Seco Antigua Diving in Maria, loved adventure. One day, he decided to explore an unmapped part of Cuadel Agua alone. He knew the risks, but felt confident about the air pockets he thought existed throughout the cave. Antonio underestimated the cave's dangers. When he didn't return, emergency services were called in. The GAS-2 divers entered, but struggled with poor visibility. They couldn't even read their watches and had to stop searching. Hope flickered when more divers came from Madrid the next day. They set up a guideline to help navigate, but murky water and tricky paths still posed huge risks. The search for Antonio turned into a massive operation with over 100 emergency workers. The discovery of Antonio's body crushed all hope. The plan to retrieve him faced many problems. Sadly, they never recovered Antonio's body due to extreme dangers. Years passed, but the cave's deadly reputation endured. Its complex layout and unpredictable conditions continued to lure thrill seekers. Despite efforts to warn people, the allure of Cuetal Agua remained strong. The cave's reputation spread far beyond Spain's borders. It became known as one of the world's most challenging dive sites. Local authorities grappled with how to manage the site. They faced the difficult task of balancing safety concerns with the desire for exploration and scientific study. The debate continues to this day, with no easy solutions in sight. Cuetal Agua stands as a stark reminder of nature's power and the human drive to explore the unknown. Its dark waters hold secrets that continue to captivate and terrify in equal measure. The mission to Cuetal Agua carried heavy stakes. Public safety and scientific research hung in the balance. Antonio Kerr and Antonio Guerra led the charge, picked for their top-notch cave diving skills. 2 backup divers waited outside, ready to jump in if needed. The plan seemed simple, but danger lurked at every turn. The team leaned on Antonio's years of training to navigate the treacherous depths. The duo swam down into the warm, eerie waters at 82F28C. The cave felt surreal. They reached a tricky spot called Distress, known for its tight spaces and silty bottom. Cave divers know to kick sideways here. Up and down movements stir up sediment, killing visibility. They saw several explored routes, but stuck to their plan. A big pool tube showed up, signaling they neared their goal. At the second T-junction, they glimpsed the start of Viscero Gallery. Relief washed over them. They'd almost reached their dive end with extra gas and time. They pushed past their agreed limits into uncharted waters. They didn't realize they'd hit 688F210 deep. The cave's tricky angles fooled them. Their air ran out fast, forcing them to turn back. As they swam up, fear gripped them. The clear water had turned murky with stirred-up silt. The Antonios relied on gut instinct and training to retrace their path through the thickening gloom. Their hearts raced as they felt more lost with each stroke. Every attempt to get their bearings made them feel more helpless. Just when hope flickered, tragedy struck. Antonio Cair got tangled in the guideline, leaving him stuck and panicked. The cave's reputation grew darker. Its complex layout and unpredictable conditions kept luring thrill seekers. Guerra's survival instincts kicked in. He fought the current, desperate to free Soler. He fumbled for his knife, hoping to cut the line, but time slipped away. Guerra felt determined yet hopeless. The clear path seemed to vanish. Panic rose as time ran out. Each moment stretched endlessly. He made the gut-wrenching choice to leave Soler behind to save himself. Guilt weighed heavy as he swam up, knowing he had to alert others. Guerra burst from the water, heart racing. He reported the incident. Search teams faced countless hurdles trying to find Soler's body. Days turned to weeks as they combed the cave, but Soler remained lost. Cuetal Agua's tragedy stood as a stark reminder of cave diving's dangers. The lure of exploration often hides deadly risks. Today, Cuetal Agua draws thrill seekers and serves as a warning. Its deep, dark waters still attract divers. Yet the tales of Antonio Soler and the sacrifices made echo as powerful reminders of adventure's thin line with tragedy. The cave's mysteries linger, a testament to past explorers and the lurking perils. Guerra's choice haunted him. He'd left his friend to die, a decision that would forever shape his life. The cave's allure faded for him, replaced by nightmares of that fateful dive. He became a vocal advocate for stricter safety measures in cave diving, hoping to prevent similar tragedies.